It is rarely the big, famous things that make daily life in Korea feel so considered. It is the tiny touches, the small details someone clearly thought about so you would not have to. Most are so subtle you might not even notice them at first, until you go home and feel their absence like a missing step. None of them cost much, and none of them would ever make a headline. Yet together they quietly shape how an ordinary day feels. Here are 11 small Korean touches that make a huge difference. First, the little tray for your money and card. At Korean counters, instead of money being passed awkwardly hand to hand, there is a small tray where you place your card or cash, and where your change and receipt are returned to you. It seems almost trivial, but it quietly removes the fumbling, the dropped coins, the brief, uncertain contact of a rushed exchange. Both you and the cashier can see exactly what was handed over. Nothing gets lost or miscounted, and the whole transaction feels calm and clear. It is a tiny ritual of order around the simple act of paying, and once you are used to it, money shoved across a counter feels clumsy and chaotic by comparison. It also quietly spares everyone the awkward question of whether to hand money directly to a person or set it down, by just answering it the same way every time. Second, the wet wipe or warm towel at the start of the meal. Sit down to eat at many Korean places, and you are handed a clean wet wipe, or in nicer spots a warm rolled towel, before the food even arrives. It is a small gesture, but it quietly says you are cared for here, and it solves the very real problem of wanting clean hands before you eat, especially before a hands-on meal. You freshen up, relax, and start the meal feeling comfortable rather than grubby from the journey there. That tiny courtesy at the very beginning sets the tone for everything that follows, a quiet signal that someone is paying attention to your comfort, not just your order. On a cold day, the warm towel is a small joy in itself, and on a hot one, the cool wipe is exactly what you wanted before anyone even asked. Third, the toothpicks, mouthwash, and mints by the door. On the way out of many Korean restaurants, you will find a little station with toothpicks, sometimes mouthwash, and a few mints or candies, so you leave feeling fresh rather than self-conscious after a flavorful meal. It quietly handles that slightly awkward after-dinner moment that most places just ignore and leave you to deal with alone. A meal heavy with garlic or spice no longer follows you out the door and into your next meeting or date. It is a small, thoughtful bookend to the dining experience, the sense that the restaurant cares how you feel even as you are leaving, not just while you are spending. Fourth, the apron and the bag for your jacket at barbecue. Sit down for Korean barbecue, and the staff will often bring aprons to protect your clothes from sizzling oil, and a plastic bag or covered basket to seal away your coat, so it does not soak up the smell of grilling meat. It quietly solves the one real downside of a wonderful meal, walking out smelling like a smokehouse with grease spots on your shirt. You can lean in, grill with abandon, and still leave clean and fresh. It is the kind of small, anticipatory touch that shows someone thought the whole experience through, all the way down to how you will feel an hour after you leave. They solved a problem you had not even started complaining about yet, which is exactly what makes it feel so thoughtful when it happens. Fifth, the parking spaces that light up to show they are free. In Korean parking garages, small lights above each space glow green when a spot is empty and red when it is taken, so you can see at a glance, from across the floor, exactly where to go. No more crawling up and down endless rows, craning your neck, hunting for a gap. You simply follow the green light straight to an open spot. It quietly turns one of the most quietly maddening parts of driving into something instant and effortless. A simple colored light, repeated over every space, removes a small daily frustration that most of the world has just accepted as part of the misery of parking. From the entrance, you can often see a tally of how many spots are free on each floor, so you head straight to the right level instead of circling blindly. Sixth, finding your car by its license plate. Many Korean garages let you find your parked car by simply typing in your plate number at a kiosk, which then shows you exactly where it is, having quietly logged it on the way in. That sinking, all too familiar feeling of wandering a vast garage with no idea where you left the car simply disappears. You punch in a few digits and walk straight to it. It quietly rescues you from one of modern life's small, lonely panics, that moment of standing among 1,000 identical cars, completely lost. For big malls and stations, it turns a potential ordeal into a 5-second lookup every single time. Some systems even let you check from your phone before you have finished shopping, so you walk out already knowing exactly which way to turn. 7th, the kid-sized toilets and step stools in restrooms. Korean public restrooms frequently include miniature toilets and little step stools sized for small children, so families are not left wrestling with fixtures built only for adults. It is a small detail that quietly makes an enormous difference to anyone out with young kids, turning a stressful, awkward stop into something easy and dignified. The children manage more on their own, the parents struggle less, and a basic human need is simply met for everyone, regardless of size. It reflects a quiet assumption that families belong in public space and deserve to be planned for, rather than treated as an afterthought to squeeze around adult-sized design. Small hand basins set low on the wall finish the thought, so a child can wash up afterward without being lifted and balanced over a sink built for someone 3 times their height. 8th, the nursing and baby care rooms everywhere. In Korean stations, malls, and public buildings, you will commonly find clean, private rooms for feeding and changing babies, with comfortable seating, sinks, and changing tables. It quietly removes one of the hardest parts of going out with an infant, the desperate hunt for a private, clean place to tend to them. Parents can step into a calm, dedicated space instead of making do in a cramped restroom or a corner somewhere. It treats the simple reality of caring for a baby as something normal and worth providing for. And for new parents especially, stumbling on one of these rooms when you need it most feels like a small act of genuine kindness. Knowing they exist almost everywhere quietly makes the whole prospect of leaving the house with an infant far less daunting. 9th, the less cold car on the subway. On many Korean subway lines, one car is deliberately kept at a milder temperature for people who find the air conditioning too harsh, clearly marked, so you can choose the comfort you want. It is a remarkably thoughtful touch, quietly acknowledging that the same chilly car one person loves leaves another shivering. Rather than forcing everyone into a single setting, the system simply offers a choice. You pick the car that suits you and ride in comfort. It is a tiny piece of consideration, easy to overlook, but it reflects a deeper instinct, the idea that a shared space can quietly make room for the fact that people are different. One simple sign turns an argument nobody can win, too cold versus not cold enough, into a choice everyone gets to make for themselves. 10th, the free self-serve coffee on the way out. Many Korean restaurants keep a machine by the exit offering a small free coffee, or sometimes a sweet rice drink, to round off your meal as you leave. It is a tiny, generous flourish, costing the restaurant almost nothing but leaving you with a warm final impression. You finish your meal, help yourself to a little something extra, and walk out feeling looked after rather than merely fed and billed. That small, unearned gift at the end quietly turns an ordinary transaction into a moment of hospitality. It is the kind of touch that makes you want to come back, and it costs little more than a moment's thought. 11th, the grooming counters in public restrooms. Korean public restrooms often include a proper vanity area beyond the sinks, with large mirrors, a counter, and space to fix your hair, check your appearance, or freshen up before heading back out. It quietly turns a purely functional stop into a small moment of self-care, especially welcome before a meeting, a date, or an event. You step out looking and feeling put together rather than rushed. It reflects an understanding that a restroom is not only about necessity, but about how you present yourself to the world afterward, and that giving people a clean, pleasant place to sort themselves out is a small kindness that quietly lifts the whole experience. Look at all 11 of these together, and the lesson is unmistakable. Not one of them is grand, expensive, or technically clever. A tray for your change, a wet towel, a green light over an empty parking space, a milder train car. Each is almost nothing on its own, the kind of thing you would never put on a list of a country's achievements. But together they reveal a way of thinking, a habit of looking at ordinary moments and asking how they could be made just a little kinder and easier. That is the real magic of the small Korean touch. It proves that the quality of daily life is built less from big triumphs and far more from countless tiny acts of consideration.